Before every phone was a glass rectangle, there was a little machine that lived in your pocket with a real keyboard. Tiny keys, big thumbs, that satisfying click when you hit send. The red blinking light meant someone needed you. A BBM ping could pull you out of a meeting, a dinner, a movie, and honestly, you kind of liked it. That phone was a BlackBerry. For a few years, it was not just popular, it was status. The signature at the bottom of the email said, "Everything, sent from my BlackBerry." When the empire collapsed, everyone had the same explanation ready. Apple showed up, touchscreens won, game over. And yes, the iPhone mattered. But if that is the whole story, you're missing the self-inflicted part. This is how the company that invented smartphone addiction missed the smartphone era. And why the killer was not only a product launch in Cupertino. It starts in 1984 in Waterloo, Ontario, not Silicon Valley. Two engineering students, Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fergal, founded a company called Research in Motion. The name sounded boring on purpose. The work was wireless data. Their first breakthrough was not a phone. It was a pager that could push email to you in real time. No refreshing, no dial-up ritual. If you have never lived it, imagine your inbox chasing you down the street. Mike Lazaridis built the engineering. Jim Balsillie joined to build the business carriers, contracts, the unglamorous work of getting every law firm in Toronto on your device. A tech story is rarely one founder. It is a team that can sell what the lab invented. In 1999, the BlackBerry name showed up on a device that looked like a pager with ambitions. By 2002, it was a phone, still ugly by consumer standards, still irresistible to people who lived in email. BlackBerry did one thing better than anyone: secure, fast, mobile email for enterprises. IT departments loved it. Lawyers loved it. The President of the United States loved it. That is not a joke. It was the official phone in the Oval Office. Journalists started calling it CrackBerry because once you had always-on email in your pocket, going back felt like withdrawal. The keyboard was the hook. The network effect was BBM. BlackBerry Messenger let you ping someone with a read receipt and a little delivered check. Years before iMessage made it normal. If your friend group was on BBM, you did not want to be the one person on a green bubble lifeboat. Consumer cool came later. The moat was enterprise. Encrypted email, admin controls, carriers bundled BlackBerry service. It was like owning the toll booth on a highway to work. Carriers sold BlackBerry plans like insurance. Monthly fees baked into corporate contracts. Every new banker meant recurring revenue. That is a beautiful business until the carrier starts pushing iPhone upgrades harder than your keyboard. By 2008, the stock had gone full mania. Over $100 a share, stadium naming rights, Waterloo treated like a second Silicon Valley. On paper, RIM looked untouchable. By 2011, BlackBerry controlled roughly 20% of the global smartphone market. Read that again. 1 in 5 smartphones on Earth had that little keyboard. On paper, the king looked permanent. But here's what most people get wrong about the fall. BlackBerry was not a zombie when the touch revolution started. It was still a giant, and that is exactly why what happened next was so preventable. Stay with me, because the next 3 years look fine on a market share chart and disastrous underneath. The squeeze did not start with bankruptcy. It started with a new rule. Phones were not email machines anymore. They were app platforms. In January 2007, Apple launched the iPhone. No physical keyboard. Full glass. The press release read like science fiction if you were still selling thumb keyboards to law firms. RIM's leadership did not panic. Publicly, they dismissed it. Touchscreens were fine for music players, the story went, but serious people would never type email on glass. That confidence aged like milk. Then came the App Store in 2008, and the game changed again. It was not just hardware. It was an ecosystem. Developers built for iPhone first because that is where the users were going. Android piled on from the other side. Samsung, HTC, everyone with a glass slab and a marketplace. BlackBerry was caught in the middle, still betting the keyboard crowd would never switch. They tried a touch screen, the Storm, with a clickable screen that felt like it was fighting your finger. Reviews were brutal. It was the corporate equivalent of showing up to a gunfight with a keyboard duct taped to a tablet. Developers follow users, and users were leaving. Instagram, Uber, the apps that defined the decade. They launched on iPhone and Android first. A phone without apps is just email with anxiety. Employees started showing up to work with personal iPhones in their pockets, IT policy or not. The consumer bled into the enterprise the way water finds crack. And BlackBerry's crack was pride. RIM spent years rebuilding its operating system, BlackBerry 10, BB10, while iPhone and Android ate the developer ecosystem. By the time BB10 launched in 2013, the party was mostly over. The founders stepped down as co-CEOs. New leadership, same hole in the boat. When your product cycle is measured in years and your rivals ship in months, you are not racing. You're doing archaeology. They even chased the iPad with a tablet called the Playbook. Launched without a native email client, which is like selling a car without a steering wheel when your brand is literally email. Revenue peaked around $20 billion in 2011, right when the chart looked like a coronation. Then it fell off a cliff. Not because nobody bought phones anymore, because nobody bought BlackBerries. So forget the lazy headline for a second. Apple mattered. Android mattered. But the autopsy that actually explains the death starts with hubris. We do not need to be consumer cool. And ends with a platform shipped years too late. Remember that chart from Act 2 that stopped at the peak? Here is the rest, 20% to essentially zero in 4 years. That is not a gentle decline. That is a platform falling off a cliff. The stock followed the share. From triple-digit glory to single-digit embarrassment. If you bought the peak believing keyboards were forever, you learned what disruption feels like in your brokerage account. Waterloo shed jobs. The company that had been the pride of Canadian tech became a cautionary slide in business school lectures. And employees felt every frame of that movie. BBM used to be the stickiest feature on earth, until WhatsApp and iMessage became cross-platform and free. When your killer app becomes a checkbox on someone else's phone, the moat drains overnight. BlackBerry licensed its name to other manufacturers, tried a few Hail Mary devices, then stopped making phones altogether. The keyboard icon survived in memory longer than it survived in stores. From over $100 a share to barely pocket change, the market was not being cruel. It was being literal. This company no longer owned the future. In 2016, BlackBerry formally pivoted to software and cybersecurity. The enterprise security, DNA, finally made sense again, just without the phone that made you famous. BlackBerry still exists today, on balance sheets and earnings calls, not in your pocket. It is a smaller, quieter company that sells security tools to fleets and governments. The keyboard is gone. The ghost is enterprise software. If this story feels familiar, it should. Kodak invented digital photography and still lost the camera. BlackBerry perfected mobile email and still lost the phone. Inventing the future and shipping it are different skills. The lesson is almost too neat. You can invent a category on the enterprise and still lose if you refuse to believe the rules changed. It is like building the world's best typewriter factory the year the mouse went mainstream. The craftsmanship is real, the timing is fatal. People still need secure mobile communication. They just get it from different logos now. BlackBerry did not lose to a lack of demand for email. It lost to a lack of humility about what a phone was becoming. And they were not even alone. Nokia dominated mobile phones the same decade, different continent, same plot twist. When the computer swallowed the phone, the incumbents who treated it as a phone lost to the ones who treated it as a computer. So what do you think? Did BlackBerry die because of the iPhone, or because it refused to believe the iPhone changed the rules? Did you ever have a BBM pin you still remember? Tell me in the comments, and if you want more stories like this, you know what to do.